Atlanta Airport Rotary Club selected Tim Eccles as Student of the Year. While at the luncheon, he got to meet Truett Cathy, a member of the Atlanta Airport Rotary Club, and Truett invited him to his office where he was able to give Tim a challenge that set him forever onto a path to civic leadership and involvement. After building a national nonprofit organization, Tim ran for and was elected to statewide office in 2010. Serving as Public Service Commissioner, his primary job is energy regulation. When Tim took office, Georgia was 34th in solar power. Now, 11 years later, the state is 4th in the nation. And Tim also has earned his master's degree in nonprofit organization and considers the charities in our state a great resource and has been involved in many and led many initiatives, from Teen Pact, Salvation Army's Senior Heating Assistant Program, and being at the forefront in fighting sex trafficking and advocating for the youngest of Georgia's citizens. In addition, he's been married to his wife for 38 years, Wendy, and they have 7 children. Please welcome our commissioner.
Hey, thanks to everybody online today, Facebook, StreamYard, for being a part of this Moultrie Rotary Club today. So in a way, I have roots with you here because I am descended from Henry Crawford Tucker. And if you know anything about the Tuckers, he had a lot of kids. 32, I believe. Anybody related to Henry Crawford Tucker here? Any cousins here? I'm descended from number 21, I believe, Ivy Elisha Tucker. So I'm glad he didn't stop at 20. So I have 7, and I'll remind my wife, she's here. She's actually downtown enjoying some coffee and reading while I'm here talking to you. But I'll remind her, hey, we only had 7. Henry Crawford did. By then, she slapped me 3 or 4 times. But we're actually having a little reunion tonight at the Barbara Tucker house where I'm staying. So we've got some Tuckers coming over, and we're going to do it on Zoom, of course, as well. So a lot of history with that family here. And I grew up coming down to Doran. My great-grandmother, Mindy Tumlin, lived there. And so we would have family events there. My grandfather, Lester Tumlin, and his brothers all served in World War II, all of them. So my great-grandmother had a pond there and some, and some great hunting as well. So I grew up coming, to this area of the state, and then my granddad Tumlin married Vivian, and she had folks in Brooks County in Quitman. So from my great grandmother, who was Irish, and she's buried there, Alice Lucille Dinkins Phillips. So anyway, great part of our state. I'm spending a lot of time here this winter. Been already to the Americus Rotary, the Albany Rotary, the Cairo Rotary. I'm going to Cordele tomorrow, Camilla on Thursday, and then 2 that I'm not remembering. So I've done about 10 Rotaries here in Southwest Georgia in the last 30 days. So Rotaries are important to me because it was at Rotary Club at the Atlanta Airport. It's not in District 3, is it?
As part of our district.
That's part of your district. So I was a high school senior in North Clayton High School, president of my student body, and that particular club did a Student of the Year program for all the high schools around the Atlanta airport. So that was mine, North Clayton, Woodward Academy, M.D. Collins, Headland and East Point, Hapeville High School, where my grandfather taught ROTC, and then North Clayton. And so I was at the Rotary Club in front of the banner, and at the end of the club meeting, a man comes up to me. He said, "My name is Truett Cathy, and my business, Chick-fil-A, is just around the corner. Do you have time to come to my office after this meeting?" And I said, "Well, I'm already skipping school, sir. I'm happy to come." So I drove my 1967 Chevrolet pickup truck 3 on the tree, no power steering, no power brakes, no air conditioning. Can I get an amen on that? Drove that over there. I did have some chrome reverse mags on that baby though, with 60. So it was a good looking truck with a split manifold, a little 6-cylinder. So I drove that over there. He was in one of those long Lincoln Mark IVs or whatever it was back then, with a big chicken on the side, that big chicken logo. So this was back when Chick-fil-A was in their corporate headquarters was in a building smaller than this clubhouse. So, way back 1978. And I sat down in a wingback chair in his office, and he said, "Look, I want you to go to college and continue being a leader." I wasn't the first young person that he had given a challenge to. So I'm sitting in the chair. He tells me to go to college. Yes, sir, I'm planning on going to the University of Georgia. He said, "Come back and see me in 4 years. I'll give you a Chick-fil-A store." I said, "Well, at the time I had no interest in cooking chicken. Our family owned a car auction. My granddad was an entrepreneur. I was, leaving home, heading to Athens. The last thing I'm thinking about is my career, of course. And he says to me, and I've got these tapes I want you to listen to. Tapes. Zig Ziglar, see you at the top. Any of you heard of Zig Ziglar? So he hands me the tape. I open it up and I said, "Well, sir, these are cassettes." And he said, "Yeah, they're cassettes." I said, "Well, I just have an 8-track tape player in that truck." He said, "Well, I can take care of that." He opens up the closet door, and there are these boxes of tape recorders in there. Radio Shack tape recorders. Remember those with a little push thing and the lid would pop up? And so I took the tape recorder, and then I said to him, "Well, sir, I don't have anything to plug this into in my truck." That was back in the day before power supplies in trucks. And he said, he went and got a $50 check, so I could buy batteries, batteries for that thing. So off I go, listen to the tapes, go to the University of Georgia, become president of the Baptist Student Union. I'm going to tell you the rest of the story at the end about me going back to Chick-fil-A. Let me just switch gears and say that, as I got elected to the Georgia Public Service Commission, Georgia was, we didn't have any solar to speak of. And at the time, solar was so expensive that it really didn't make sense for us to have it. And what the commission has done through the years, and you've seen a bunch of it down here, not necessarily in your county, but in surrounding counties. You've seen a bunch of massive fields of solar, and I've had people say to me, "Wow, you're pulling farmland out of the inventory, and you're putting it in solar." So, well, we're not really micromanaging where this goes. If the landowner feels like they want to move from growing this to growing solar panels for 35 years, well, that's who am I to tell them what they can do with their land? But we have created this program that has solar below the avoided cost of energy in Georgia. And basically what you need to know about that is that we're not subsidizing. And Bill's in the solar business. He probably wishes we were subsidizing it because he'd get more money, but we're not subsidizing the big solar. And as a result, it's actually fractionally lowering your rates. And it's hard to believe that solar's come that far in 10 years, where it has gone from being the most expensive form of energy to the least expensive form of energy. But that's what's happened, and you're going to see more of it. We're about to approve another 20-year energy plan, and it will move Georgia to 4th in the nation. So we have a lot of it. In some ways, it makes a lot of sense because we've got great sun down here. We've got flat land, and we've got access to that power grid. So I know lots of people have called me and said, "Oh, we've got some land. Can we put it in solar?" And I always say, "How many miles is it to a substation from your property?" "Oh, we're about 8 miles. Too far." You got to be close because you, as the landowner or the developer, you've got to pay the interconnection cost to get it to the big lines, and that's expensive. And so all the land that was close to substations got gobbled up in 2014, 15, 16. People came in. I mean, any of you get paid to have an option on your land? Anybody? Go down to Decatur County and you get a few hands. And there's just a lot of land that has been locked up around the state because it is within proximity to substations. So this has been really good for our state. It is a part of our energy plan, and we're going to continue to add more of it. There probably will be a time when when it slows down in South Georgia, because we're moving some of your energy north. Obviously, there's a lot of development in North Georgia, and we've really got to keep the grid going. I mean, this reliable grid that we have is part of the secret sauce for Georgia economic development, honestly. I mean, you can go to other places. Think about what happened in Texas last year, 4.5 million people out of energy in the wintertime as a result of what happened there. And it's a little bit different system in Texas. So, I mean, it's not that, they were asleep at the switch. They just had a system that didn't incentivize anybody to do any preventive maintenance or any winterization. And so when that winter storm came and everybody cranked up their heat in their home, it put their gas supply in jeopardy. And then they had the worst of the worst happen. They had coal piles that froze up. They had a pump that tripped at a nuclear power plant. They had wind turbines that wouldn't work, solar panels that had snow on them. I mean, it's just one thing after another that was cascading down. And then you got places like San Francisco, when the wind's not blowing in California and the sun's not shining and it's been raining for 5 days, then California's grid gets in jeopardy if it's in August, late in the afternoon, where they have to basically say, we're going to do some rolling brownouts tomorrow. And so, heads up, companies, you're going to be out of power for 3 hours, 5 hours, whatever. And that's not really good for economic development. So I think you've got 5 of us commissioners that represent you. All 5 of us are elected statewide. And economic development's always at the front of our mind. I mean, it's good to have clean energy, but reliability is the most important, and cost is very important to us. We want to keep the grid affordable. So as we continue to grow, that's going to be, I think, important to all the commissioners. Wanted to talk with you just a little bit about where things are going as we do our energy planning this year. You're going to see more and more emphasis on batteries. And I told you about Truett Cathy giving me the money for the batteries, but lithium-ion batteries that are in your iPhone. Any of you have an electric car at all? Bill, you have one. What do you have, a Tesla? Volkswagen. Okay. E-Golf, or which one? ID4. So lithium-ion batteries are growing in demand, getting cheaper, just like the solar was. And I really think probably when these electric trucks come to your Ford dealership and the Rivian trucks are available here, and you've got something that's got true 4-wheel drive, that Rivian truck will drive through 3 feet of water. I mean, they've got that thing watertight on those electric motors on the wheels. So true 4-wheel drive, a motor on every wheel, drive through 3 foot of water. It'll outrun a Corvette, and then you can plug your house to it, run your house, like it's on a generator. I mean, this is going to open up a whole new area for you. And obviously, this is not some little city compact car. This is a truck that will tow 11,000 pounds. I mean, it's going to be something that you're probably going to be interested in eventually. And so I get asked a lot about, is the grid ready for these electric cars? And I think, what we're thinking about, what I'm thinking about, is all the commercial vehicles that are going to be electrified. So I think you're going to see Amazon vans electrified, and Rivian they will be making the Amazon van. So you're going to see a lot of those electric vans. UPS is going to have a lot of them, FedEx. So you will be seeing them on a regular basis. And what we want to make sure is when they plug those babies in at 6 o'clock when they get back, that we don't have 10,000 vehicles or 50,000 vehicles being plugged in at exactly the same time. We want to provide some incentives, and we've done this through special tariffs that we have to incentivize people to wait to have their vehicle start charging at 11 o'clock at night. The cars are smart. You can program it to start. You can plug it in at 6 and have it programmed to start at 11. So that's something that you're going to see is just the staggered charging to make sure that we're not plugging in at peak time. And frankly, we've got extra power overnight. You have a nuclear plant not too far from here in Baxley at Plant Hatch, and we're going to extend the life, I would imagine, on that plant another 20 years. That's going to be great for Appleton County and Baxley. And then, of course, the Bogle plant will power when it's done. We got one unit to come on, after the first of the year, and towards the end of next year, the fourth unit. That one single plant's going to power about a tenth of Georgia. So it's a lot of electricity coming out of that plant. Of course, we got our hydroelectric dams, which are just a tiny amount of power. We leased some wind turbines out in Oklahoma that we got a great deal on. We've got a lot of gas plants. We're going to be getting more gas plants. And then we've got this legacy coal that Georgia Power wants to close it all out about 2038. Around that time, Oglethorpe Power, all the EMCs, any member of Slash Pine or any EMC, the EMCs own 2 units with the cities at Plant Shearer there in Juliet, into Monroe County, Macon, Georgia. If you know where Macon is, shake your head. Yeah. Trying to engage them. So how about you on Facebook? You guys know where Macon is? Okay. Just teasing y'all. The EMC is going to run those plants who knows when. That is such an important part of their portfolio for Middle Georgia, South Georgia. So let me stop right there and just ask if you have any questions about what's going on at the PSC or with energy in general. Make sure we get questions. That's solar, electric vehicles, our coal plants, our nuclear, anything. So questions? Yes, we'll start right here with the lady and then go to the gentleman.
I had never actually thought about all those cars plugging in at the same time.
Yes.
So you say you'll incentivize people to do that, but can you really control them from overwhelming the grid? I mean, can you program them from another perspective to start at 11, or will they just do it because they've proven themselves to be responsible by buying an electric car anyway?
You've heard the song, "Money Can't Buy You Love."
Ah.
Yeah, well, actually it can. So you can incentivize them financially to do it. So right now, the EV tariff we have for guys like Bill, if he's, you're a Georgia Power customer or EMC? EMC. So if you're a Georgia Power customer and you shift your home usage, you have to sign something to do this, to an electric vehicle time of use rate. Okay, so where you and I have an electric car, but I'm with an EMC, so I don't have this rate. But so let's just say you and I, we don't have electric cars and we're just paying 11 cent, 12 cent per kilowatt, right? If you have an electric car, then from June 1st until September 30th, you get overnight power from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. for about a penny and a half for your entire house. That's your heat pump running, that's your dryer, that's everything in your house, including your electric car. It hops up to about 8 cents at 7, and then at 2 p.m. it jumps to 25 cents. And so what the people do who kind of arbitrage this and work it, and I've been on this rate before, is that you would use your smart thermostat to pre-cool your house before that 2 o'clock time gets. So you get it down to like icicle range, right? So you get it really cold, 64, 65, and then you shut the units off at 159. And so the smart thermostat will do all of this for you. And then you keep that thing shut off for 5 hours while you're at the 25 cent range. And then you have it come back on at 7. So they work the system like this using their smart thermostat And we found that even though they've got an electric car that's gobbling up energy at night, their overall bill drops around $200 a year, and they're getting essentially free fuel for their car. So we know that the rate works because we just took 1,000 of those customers and looked at their bill. And so we know that you can scale this up. We've seen more and more people take advantage of it. What I'd like to see us do is do something like this for commercial customers, like for Amazon, for example. Most of these Amazon fulfillment centers will wind up with 50, 100, 150 vans that are running on electricity there. And so you want to, they're going to take on a level 2 charger about 4 hours to fill up, and then they start loading at 3 a.m. So you got to have everything done by 3 a.m. to get them in queue to have everything put in them, and then they take off at 6 or 7 o'clock. So anyway, that's how you incentivize them, and we know it works. Yes, sir.
I was just wondering what states are 1, 2, 3 in total?
Yeah, California's number 1. And maybe some Facebook people will correct me on this. I believe that Arizona is number 2. And I want to say New Jersey is number 3. What is it? Florida, number 3, and Georgia. We're not number 4 yet. We'll be number 4 at 2024. So we've got to get everything we've approved in the ground. So by 2024, we will be number 4, because all of these states, they do solar way in advance. It takes, as Bill will tell you, takes forever, doesn't it, to get this stuff approved, cited, and rolled out. So it takes us all of our 3-year planning period to get it done. Yes, sir.
What are we right now?
We're probably 8 today, somewhere like that. But
When you took over as commissioner,
we were 34th, I think. So not that we're in a contest. We're not really in a contest here. I mean, the contest I'm in is to keep rates at 15% below the national average. That's the contest I'm in, and to have a reliable grid. I think if the Texas thing happens here, I probably lose my job. I mean, it's just unacceptable. Yes.
One more thing, I was just wondering, what does it look like for any nuclear coming online anytime soon?
Well, we've got the 2 plants that are wrapping up. I mean, we've already done hot functional testing at full pressure with Unit 3. I mean, it is this close to being finished. So we are going to get that done. There's other small modular reactors. I just don't think we can even be thinking about any more reactors until we get these things done and have them working flawlessly. So let's let another state experiment. I think we've done all the experimenting we can handle. Other questions out here, just in our last few minutes?
I have one more.
Yes.
And I'm sorry if you guys know this and I don't. When you say that you bought Oklahoma turbines,
Yes.
what does that mean for us? I mean,
Leased. Mm-hmm.
okay, so does that mean we?
Yeah, I'll explain
we
it.
harness
Yeah.
the power and then we get that.
Yeah,
back,
so
or do they sell the power. We get
back in 2015, I believe, there were 122 wind turbines on ridges in a certain part of Oklahoma that had already received their production tax credit. They had run for another utility. They'd gotten the big production tax credit and essentially paid for it. They were sitting idle. They made us a deal to lease those 122, bring the energy in through Mississippi. And we negotiated and basically said, look, we need firm energy. We don't want energy just when the wind's blowing. And so, believe it or not, the group signed a contract with a little adder on it that if the wind wasn't blowing, they would go out and get gas power or whatever to supply us with a full 250 megawatts. And a megawatt will power a super Walmart, just to give you an idea of what 1 megawatt will do. And so we have firm wind power coming, even if if they're just sitting there not spinning today, the company that owns them has to go out on the spot energy market and buy the power for us to send it in. So it's a good deal for us. We just, it was just one of those things where at that moment we could get it. And so, I mean, I'm a cheapskate, and I know our other commissioners are frugal, and we want to, we want to get great deals when we can. So that's a good question. Yes, sir.
Why is NextEra coming to Georgia, like Albany, into Albany, and in Brooks County? Why are they coming and putting solar down?
Yeah, I think the contracts that we offer, these 35-year contracts, are so attractive in the financial market. Some states will only do 10-year contracts. And so even though we're not paying as much, we've got the good terms. And I think that 35-year term is just so attractive that the big players, are coming here, and they, over 35 years, they may not make money in those first couple of years, but in the end, those arrays are making them a lot of money. So it's a benefit to our Georgia landowner. It's a benefit to our grid, our ratepayers who are getting an unsubsidized form of energy, and it's good for NextEra. So they've been, the way that we've done it, and I don't know that we knew that when we started all this in 2013, that the secret sauce that we were using was going to be that tasty, but it has been very tasty and very successful. Yes, sir.
I'm part of the school system, and I guess my question is, are there any challenges that you guys, we've got really several different providers. It always seemed to me, when we looked at this solar for our school system, that our schools, about 40% of our schools are on Georgia Power based on the area, some on the EFC, some on the city of Moultrie Power. What are some of the issues, or are there issues now, or has that gotten better with trying to decide where you can put it based on the provider that you have in the area that you live?
Yeah, and this is the last question because we're right at 1 o'clock. Each solar, whether it's each EMC, whether it's Slash Pine, Walton, Jackson, I mean, there are 41 of them, their board of directors set their own policies. So Jackson EMC pays people to put solar on their house. They give you $450 a kilowatt if you will put it on it. Other EMCs hate solar and they don't want any of it. So the policies are just all over the map, and it really just depends on your particular EMC and what their needs are. Each one of them, have their own board. They're owned by the members. So, you can just talk with your EMC and say, hey, are you guys planning on changing this policy anytime soon? We set Georgia Power's policy. That's our job. Y'all, thank you very much for having me today. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, for